He said that he gave Iran chance after chance to try and make this deal, but that they couldn't get it done. He said that he warned them of the manpower that both the United States and Israel has, and that those took a hardline position during these negotiations in Iran over a potential nuclear deal are, quote, all dead now. And then he said, quote, there has already been great death and destruction, but there is still time to make this slaughter, with the next already planned attacks being even more brutal, come to an end. Iran must make a deal before there is nothing left and save what was once known as the Iranian Empire. No more death, no more destruction. Just do it before it is too late. Now, Kate, you mentioned this, but Kylie Atwood reporting that they are still hoping to have this next round of talks on Sunday in Oman. I will note that it is very hard to see that the Iranians are going to want to do that at this point. But from
So the president of the United States, Donald Trump, referred this afternoon to Israel's preemptive strikes in Iran as part of Operation Am Kelavi. And he warned that the Tehran regime will reach even more harsh responses if they do not reach an agreement regarding their nuclear program through negotiations. He stated, I gave Iran the chance to make a deal. I told them in the strongest words, just do it. But no matter how hard they tried and how close they got, they just couldn't do it. Trump added on his Truth social media, now everyone is dead and it will only get worse. But there is still time to stop this cringe before the next attacks, which are expected to be even more brutal and materialize in the coming steps if Iran does not agree to any kind of agreement with the United States.
Message to the Ayatollah right now. If you strike at America, if you attack our military bases, if you kill one single American serviceman or woman, I have every confidence that President Trump will respond with overwhelming force. That's a message the Ayatollah needs to understand right now, tonight. Do not attack our American military men and women.
If they are that foolish, they will pay the price. They are messing with the wrong guy. That much I can tell you. Prime Minister Netanyahu just spoke for about a minute. Let's get his comments. Let's get your reaction on the other side. Let's play it.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes.
Not forget, Iran is trying to murder Donald J. Trump, and Israel is doing a favor to America right now by taking out Iran's nuclear capacity. We don't know how this is going to end up, but a nuclear Iran would be a profound threat to Israel and a profound threat to America. And so my prayers tonight are to every Israeli and every American in harm's way tonight, that God will keep them safe and that we will stand strong to prevent a nuclear Iran that could commit vast acts of mass murder.
John, so this Israel striking means that they didn't have a choice. This means that this was an intelligence-driven operation. It likely means that Iran was probably weeks away from going nuclear. And that's the reason why Israel went in as hard as they did and when they did. And so Iran is likely at the point where they're enriching uranium somewhere close to that 85%. And there's hiding sites, stalling negotiations with the president. They backed out of that. And building a launch-ready missile arsenal. That means that if Israel waits, it wouldn't be off the table. Iran would have used these weapons against Israel. So they struck first because that's what we have to do. And the Israeli Air Force, likely multiple phase offensive, Sean, the F-35s, targets were likely Natanz, the Fordow, and then those are Iran's core enrichment facilities, and then likely hit Isfahan, which is where that uranium gets processed. They would probably also have taken out Shahab and the Khebar missile platforms. And those are the long-range systems that are aimed or were aimed right at that moment at Tel Aviv and beyond. And in Tehran, the IRGC command that you just reported, right inside the capital, Israel's going to always go after that leadership and start trimming those nails and getting heads off those snakes. So, you know, this was a kill chain. That's what we'd call this. A kill chain through and through, preemptive. And it's not over. And the IDF obviously confirming that this is probably going to go on for a few more days. But Israel's doing what it has to do, trying to delay threats that are trying to eliminate us. And that's what you just saw play out here.
Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces. Let me be clear, Iran should not target US interests or personnel.
Israeli Defense Minister, and I'm reading now, following the state of Israel's preemptive strike against Iran, a missile and drone attack against the state of Israel and its civilian population is expected in the immediate future. Senior White House correspondent Weijia Zhang joins us now. Weijia, what do you got? What are they saying at the White House?
John, so far at this hour, they are saying nothing, but we do know that President Trump was hosting a congressional picnic here. We can still hear the sound from that on the
nuclear program head Ali Shamkhani was terminated as well. And Iranian TV added nuclear scientists Firyadun Abbasi, Muhammad Tarhani, and Abd el-Rahim Min Sukhar that were terminated in the strike, as well as emergency HQ chief Katam Gholam Ali Rashid. And later, an Iranian channel reported 5 deaths in an Israeli strike on a residential area in Tehran, and the identities were unverified at this point. So a security source said, chances raise that the Iranian general staff, including the chief of staff and senior nuclear scientists, were neutralized in the opening blow of the Israeli strike. The IDF spokesperson, Brigadier General Efi Dafrin, during the Israeli strike, 200 aircrafts dropped 330 munitions, eliminating the Iranian chief of staff, the Revolutionary Guards commander, and the emergency HQ chief. More commanders were terminated, and he added that Iran launched over 100 UAVs, which are suicide drones, at Israel, and they all were eradicated while being on their way to the Jewish state. Intelligence shows that Iran set a secret nuclear program aiming for weapons very soon, and senior figures in Iran, Hezbollah, and also Hamas planned precise fire by the entire axis of evil to lead to an invasion of the Israeli territory. A security source detailed this strike and said that the entire Air Force took part in the strike, the entire Air Force of Israel. The first wave hit Iran's general staff and intelligence HQ in Tehran. The second wave targeted the nuclear and the missile facilities. The third wave aimed at dozens of senior army and government officials. Additional jets hit more Iranian nuclear sites nationwide. And Israeli sources stressed that the goal is not regime change, but removing existential threats. 2 Israeli officials expect an Iranian response in the coming hours, but it didn't happen so far. The strike followed intel that Iran enriched fissile material for 15 nuclear bombs, and the Air Force completed the opening attack on dozens of nuclear sites. The source added, alongside wide Air Force strikes, that the Mossad led secret information and operations inside Iran to cripple its strategic missile array and its air defenses. And Prime Minister Netahyahu of Israel even announced a family vacation up north as a deception. An Iranian source told Reuters, "Our response will be harsh and decisive." Sirens were sounded at 3 a.m. nationwide, and the Home Front Command shifted all areas to essential activity status. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said, "We have no choice but to act quickly. If we don't act now, we simply won't be here." never again is now. The United States Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Netanyahu will put Israel first, will put our interests first. Our forces are ready for any development. So guys, we at TV in Israel will keep covering every development and will keep spreading the truth. Are you ready? In the last few minutes, we have received new reports that arrived that another strike wave has just ended in Iran. And the Israeli Air Force keeps pounding Iranian targets. So today, Friday, another wave focused on Tabriz Airport, serving both civilian and military targets. Iran said that 5 people lost their lives and 12 were wounded. After the strikes, Arab networks reported a loud blast near Hamdan at the Nujeh Air Base. And the IDF spokesman, Efi Defrin, confirmed, "We struck the Natanz enrichment site, its underground area, and other vital infrastructure." Initial reports stated that the strike targeted ground-to-ground missile systems, and dozens of jets still are in the Iranian skies. So it's also reported near the railway by the airport, and the Tabriz airport is east of the Azerbaijan province. It's the main terminal and a key airbase for Iran. The Iranian media reported explosions in Kermanshah and Shiraz, and Iran's communications ministry announced temporary internet limits in the country. So El Arabiya quoted the Israeli sources saying that 300 Israeli strikes up until now were carried in Iran. And Iranian outlets said that other targets were hit, including Arak, Parchin, Khonbad, plus Kermashkhan, Ilam, Qom, Hamdan, and other areas in Iran. And the IDF said that 200 planes dropped 330 munitions, terminating the Iranian chief of staff, the Revolutionary Guards commander, and emergency HQ chief, plus more commanders. Iran launched over 100 UAVs at Israel, and all of them were eliminated on their way to the Jewish state.
Breaking news, banks across Australia have paid back hundreds of millions already.
The United States will defend itself and Israel if Iran responds in this situation. The Iranian Deputy Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi spoke by phone with his Saudi counterpart Faisal bin Farhan, telling him that the Israeli aggression against Iran would not have occurred without the United States coordination and the United States approval. He said the American government, as the main supporter of the Zionist entity, bears responsibility for the severe consequences of this aggression.
Operation, and one that an Israeli security source said was long in the planning. Not a specific timeline on that, but I think it's easy to look at this and say this is months, if not potentially much longer than that. I'll remind you that we have seen Israel do something in this vein before when it came to the assassination of chief nuclear scientist Mohsen Fakhrizadeh back in, I believe it was November 2020, with what Iranian state media said was a remote-controlled gun that detected him and fired upon him while he was in a bulletproof vehicle in a secure convoy. So Israel has, at least in theory, shown the capability to carry out something like this, but this is on a much, much larger scale. That security source saying there were Israeli commando teams smuggling weapons in, explosive drones that targeted surface-to-air missiles, ballistic missiles, missile launchers that were mounted on vehicles, and all of that was effectively set off at the same time as the Israeli Air Force fighter jets were approaching to carry out this massive first wave of strikes that we have seen, and then, of course, we have seen more strikes. So to carry out an operation like this requires a tremendous amount of planning and confidence. And it's also worth pointing out that after the assassination of the chief Iranian nuclear scientist, after the assassination of Ismail Haniyeh, after the stealing of the Iranian nuclear archive, Iran seems completely unable to stop the Mossad from pretty much operating Iran like it's the Mossad's backyard.
In Iran today at the very highest level. Just speak to those, if you will.
It's absolutely remarkable. It's not just the Natanz nuclear facility, Iran's primary nuclear enrichment facility. It's decapitating the top of Iran's military structure, its military leadership, including the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, and then going after the top levels of their nuclear officials. That potentially, and this is what we're seeing from here, may have delayed or effectively made it more difficult for Iran to retaliate. All we've seen so far is about 100 drones, and certainly that's significant, but none of them got towards Israeli airspace, at least not from what we have seen to this point. Israel is anticipating a much larger response from ballistic missiles, except the head of the IRGC Air Force, who is in charge of the ballistic missiles, was also killed in this attack. The list of top military leaders in Iran that have been killed as part of this by Israel is growing longer and longer as we learn more about what happened here. They have truly decapitated the command and control of Iran's military leadership.
For more on this, we're joined now by the former NATO Supreme Allied Commander, General Wesley Clark.
I think it's
nuclear, other targets in Iran. How significant are they?
I think the methods are innovative. They actually had elements on the ground inside Iran which were able to go after the air defense and some of the retaliatory systems, and so they had some additional assurance. The strikes, 200 aircraft, big strikes. Now, did it take out the nuclear? Probably not. So as they're saying, they're going to go back in again and again and again. And my guess would be they're going to have to put people on the ground to go into those sites and really verify that they've been taken out. And Wolf, I think,
go ahead.